David, on just your point about what are the downsides if you were to come out and lead the impeachment movement, at least in North Carolina.
I'm not asking about myself personally. I'm asking about the consequences.
I know,
for the
but
country.
what I want to do is paint another scenario. What we know, we're organizers. We're in touch with the grassroots. This is the grassroots impeachment movement. But we're also in touch with a lot of other grassroots around here. And if you were to do that, I remember last year when we met with you, you said, why don't you try to elect a couple more Democrats from North Carolina? Remember that? You challenged us. And in fact, coming off of that challenge, some of the Democratic Party activists began holding fundraisers for, our brother down in the South, and we got the quarterback elected out there. And we,
He's Schuler and Larry Kessler.
that's right. Now, and some of that came out of your challenge to us. I believe if the 4th Congressional District was turned on, and they would be turned on if you came out for this, and black and white people would be coming to meetings together saying, David Price is leading the impeachment movement. I tell you, Michelle, don't you think we would fill up Durham? Durham would come together better than it had ever come before. And you could collect enough money to run your campaign and give enough to make sure Larry got elected and 3 or 4 other people got
We're certainly
elected.
going to help him again, but let me just quickly say once again, this isn't about who's most opposed to this president and his policies. It is about how we deal with that. And I understand. I mean, you have a very clear point of view when you say that impeachment is, I think you said, the only recourse. Impeachment isn't the only recourse. That's the one thing I would just beg to differ on. There are many, many ways that we express and act on our political opposition, and I'm currently engaged in a fair number of them. If we disagree on this as a kind of tactic or a comprehensive approach, that doesn't mean we're not in agreement on where we want to come out. I mean, one reason I wanted to have this meeting and wanted to talk with you is because I'm convinced that we do share the vast majority of objectives as where we want this country to go and the distress we feel over where it is now. But there's room, I hope, for honest disagreement as to whether kind of basically abandoning everything else we're doing and putting our eggs in this impeachment
Nobody
basket
is
a
saying.
wise
Nobody is saying.
What would it take to move you? What do you think would justify impeachment then? Just give me a scenario of where would you?
I'm going to give you a couple of articles that people who are very much coming from where we're coming from politically, from their arguments about this. It's not a question of what's justified. That's not the question.
You're saying it's a tactical question.
I'm saying it's a question of how do we do what needs to be done in this country to turn this thing around and to get our country on the course we all want it to be on. And if there's an argument, and I think there is a serious argument, you can read it and see what you think. If there's a serious argument that impeachment could be counterproductive, could actually leave us in a worse situation in terms of the things that we want to accomplish and that we aspire to. It's not about me, it's not about the role I should or shouldn't take. It's about where we want this country to go. If there's a serious argument that this could be counterproductive and could end up actually hurting rather than helping, then we're morally obligated to take that into account.
I'll tell you what, I'll be glad to read yours if you want.
And I would also like in the future, if you go the course that if you stay the course that you're on and use continue to utilize the tactics that you are saying that you're going to stick with, somewhere along the line, later on, 2008 maybe, when everything's fresh, when all the dust has settled after the elections, someone please direct me in your office to someone who's also writing, how do you counter the damage that has already been done while you're doing what you're doing? How do we tell young black boys, don't steal, don't kill to get gains when the leadership is sending that message from the top. How do I tell young people that it's about integrity, it's about your character, it's about all those things that Martin Luther King talked about that helps you to get ahead. When they see the people getting ahead are the ones who violate every one of those principles and laws and laws. So you send me that kind of material to teach and talk to kids about.
Please
do.
don't assume, neither of you, please don't assume that if one does not agree with impeachment, that one is helpless in making a moral case to young people. For goodness sakes.
No, I'm not.
None of us are helpless in making a moral
No,
case
you're
to young
not, and you
people.
put your money where your mouth is. I know you've been very generous to North Carolina Central University and their after-school program, Saturday Academy, and so forth and so on. One of the programs I work with Dr. Jones. So I understand you put your money where your mouth is, but I also understand that the current leadership that we have now is sending some messages throughout our communities that unless we come up with another figurehead, another idea of what leadership looks like and how leadership is supposed to act, it's going to have damage and long-term repercussions that we on the ground are going to have to deal with. We are the ones writing you, asking and begging for money because we're on the ground having to deal with those programs. And so as long as, you're willing to write the check.
We want to become a
appropriations,
country
but
of law.
we have to
governed by law
again.
again.
And there's a criminal at Pennsylvania Avenue.
I couldn't
It's in our
agree.
kids'
Criminal
cigarettes.
I couldn't agree more about that. I mean, that's certainly not the issue, and I'm as scandalized by it as anybody. We've never had a worse president, I think, in our country's history, and so all of us have a moral obligation to figure out how we're going to contribute to turning not just the leadership around, but also undoing the damage that this administration has done.
That's exactly
That we surely can agree
How do
on.
we undo the damage?
Well,